the latest ITV news in the Tyne region.
Good evening, welcome to ITV News Tyne Tees. Tonight's headlines. Breaking points. The schools who tell us the education system needs urgent reform to accommodate the increasing number of children with special needs.
We want to include these children, we want to educate them to the best that we possibly can and to meet their needs, but ultimately the funding that we provide doesn't allow for that intensity of support, so we're having to dip into our own reserves.
Hello from Helen and from me.
Next tonight to our second report from a County Durham school where staff and parents say the education system is at breaking point because of a significant increase in the number of children with special educational needs.
Staff at Concert Infants tell us that special schools are bursting at the seams and mainstream schools aren't being funded properly to plug the gap.
The government says long-term plans are in place to increase budgets and build more special schools. Parents and teachers say more urgent action is needed. In the second of her special reports, here's Katie Cole.
Earlier this year, the government announced an improvement plan to reform provision for SEND children. This is it, a 97-page report. They say they want to end the postcode lottery system and give all children the help they need. So what is the big plan? Well, the government says early intervention is key. So they want to do more training early years staff to assess and monitor SEN children. Build more specialist schools, 4 are planned for our region, and introduce national standards so families are clear about what support they can expect and who will pay for it.
But these changes are not going to start being rolled out until 2025. And that's a worry.
It's all very commendable to look ahead to the future, but the future's a long way off. It takes a long time to plan and build specialist provision. We need that money now.
I'm scared for the parents because I know exactly how the parents will be feeling right now, thinking that their child might not be cared for to their needs. You need your child to be looked after, and the thought that they're not going to be, it'll keep you up at night. It's terrifying.
10 dinosaurs.
Jack is proof with the right support, children with special needs can thrive in a mainstream school. But without urgent financial help, staff here are worried it can't continue. Katie Cole, ITV News, Concert.
Well, let's get some more on this story now. I'm pleased to say that we're joined by James Waller, the head teacher of Sunningdale School in Sunderland, a school that teaches children with special educational needs and disabilities. James, welcome to the studio. How much of what you've seen in Katie's report do you recognise?
Yeah, I mean, in the specialist setting, we can absolutely resonate with the same pressures that were described there in Katie's report. We're seeing, big waiting lists. I'm not aware of really any special schools, specialist schools across the country around the region that don't have significant waiting lists. There is a lot of pressure on places, a lot of pressure on budgets, a lot of schools setting deficit budgets. And we're seeing probably the biggest factor that specialist settings are dealing with at the moment in their settings is an increase in the complexity of needs of the cohorts of pupils that are attending.
And that brings me to our next question. A lot of people will be wondering, why have we seen this increase in pupils requiring extra support?
Yeah, there's not really a consistent answer to that, but there are a lot of thoughts and groups expressing thoughts on that around advances in medical science, supporting children surviving earlier births, more complicated births, certainly at the more profound end of the spectrum of learning disabilities and difficulties. But then we have a kind of culture of awareness at the moment and greater awareness around a lot of conditions in schools, amongst teachers, teaching assistants, and even the general public with regard to conditions like autism, ADHD, and more specific conditions like dyslexia.
And every one of those individual children has their own set of needs and requirements, and their families are watching and they want the best for them. The children at the more complex end clearly need education in the sort of school that you provide, with complex provision and specialist provision. Those at the other end of that spectrum, perhaps that's the overspill, that the burden is now being felt by mainstream schools where they don't have the same expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. Those schools weren't originally designed to meet that need. Their curriculums aren't built to teach those kind of children with very complex needs.
And their staff didn't choose that as a vocation either. But you are, to finish on a positive, you are reaching out to those schools and trying to share some of your skills, aren't you?
Yeah, as Katie touched on, we do have the SEND and AP improvement plan, but we're going to be waiting some time for the impact of that. But there are pockets of really good practice going on around the region and around the country. There's certainly a pilot in Sunderland, which is a joint piece of work between Together for Children, Sunningdale School, the charity Equals and Evidence for Learning, that is training and helping to coach teachers and teaching assistants in mainstream settings to deliver more appropriate curriculums for children with those more severe needs, so that their needs can be effectively met in their mainstream settings.
It's great to know that within our region you are developing these projects to solve a problem which clearly is far greater than just our region. James, thanks for coming in, and a shout out to all of your students at Sunningdale School.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
On that scene that was the pride of Northumberland, we'll leave you with some pictures of the scene as it is now at Sycamore Gap. Just a couple of weeks ago we looked at that.